We'll call the meeting to order, the Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Kolpak. Here. Preston. Epcorn.
Here.
Strand.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here. First, we'll have an assessor's report. Mike?
Yes, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. This morning we are going to go through a review of the real estate market for the last year and some of the activities of our office. Next, we will receive any value appeals for any homeowners that are present or any online that wish to address the board. And then this year we will be doing a little bit of a different format for the meeting. After receiving all of the appeals, we will take any outstanding appeals and put them into a pending status, and then we will approve all other valuations for 2024 at that time. And that just gives us a little bit of time to resolve all the outstanding appeals until we reconvene at the next meeting. This format is similar to other jurisdictions that are out there, so it just makes the appeals process a little more manageable. The Board of Equalization is conducted in accord with the Century Code, and the board may change the value of any property as is reasonable to render taxation uniform and to equalize and make the assessment roll more fair. At this meeting, we will not be making any decisions on the appeals today, but we will receive any appeals and then recess and make any final decisions at the reconvened meeting. Here are some of the statutes that guide the work of our office. All property in the state of North Dakota is taxable unless the law says it's exempt. Our as-of date for our appraisals is February 1. We are required to set values at true and full value, and this is very similar to market value. This means that we are not allowed to make any incremental changes when we increase or decrease any property values, or to use limited market adjustments, which carries its own set of problems. Real property is defined as land, improvements, structures, and buildings. And we are required to send an increased notice out to any properties where their value goes up 3,000 and 10%. We do not send notices of increases on properties where the value is decreased or where they don't meet this minimum standard. The state law requires that our assessments be compliant with certain standards. The main measure is the sales ratio. This is where we take the true and full value divided by the sales price of any properties that sell within the city of Fargo for the last year, and that gives us the ratio. So if the State Board of Equalization allows that the median ratio is between 90 and 100%, if we are below 90% with that, we have to raise values, and if we are above 100%, we have to lower values to be more compliant and to better reflect the market values. So here's the sales ratios for the 2023 sales before and after our local reappraisal efforts. The past few years, we've seen some very strong prices where the market has been driving up prices on a lot of the different properties that are around, and we've struggled to keep up with them. But we've tried to do so in a relatively conservative manner so that when the market starts to stabilize, as it always will eventually, we don't have to do a whole bunch of large decreases where people are well above the market values. And that has worked out pretty well. This year, most of the sales were pretty close to our assessments. And we were all basically in compliance already. We did take the opportunity to decrease some office values that were where the sales came in lower than our values. And we also hit some problem areas where they were still low, but overall our values, again, were very close to the market. Along with the state standards, we also adhere to the professional standards for equalization and fairness and valuation. Our measures of horizontal equity was 6.83 on the residential side and 10.06 on the commercial side. What this means is that similar properties that are very similar in nature and features were valued comparably and equitably with each other. Vertical equity was right at 1, and this means that both low and high valued properties were assessed close to their market value. We also adhere to the 5-year plan of reviewing properties for information accuracy, and here's a map of that plan. So for 2023, we were in Area 5 of the City of Fargo, and for 2024, this summer, we will be in Area 1. So that's where we will be sending out our letters and asking people to let us look through their properties to make sure that our information is correct for the reappraisal. Overall, the market has been stabilizing, and we have seen less bidding wars and more sales prices coming closer to our values. We suspect that this is mostly due to the increased mortgage rates that are out there. We've not seen any large increases in the foreclosures in the local market, and we have seen a large decrease in the amount of residential sales. Despite all of this, our median sales price did not decrease, but it's only slightly increased, as I'll show you in a couple slides here. In 2023, we had 185 commercial sales, slightly up from the year before. Overall, commercial and industrial sales are holding steady, with the exception of offices, which came in a little bit lower. So we did apply a 6% decrease for offices in general in order to account for the change. For residential sales, there was quite a decrease in the amount of them. The volume was about 26% less than the year prior, and that's bringing us down to the sales volume that was prior to 2012. As buying power has decreased, less people are able to buy homes, and those who are able are unable to spend as much money as was possible in 2022. That being said, our median sales price for a single-family home did not decrease, but increased about 0.5% to just under $340,000. Overall, I do not think this shows a decrease or correction in the market, but more of a stabilization at this point. But this is a significant change from last year's increase of 12.6%. Here's a graph that we show each year to show Fargo's market activity in comparison with other cities in the country. This is not an apples to apples comparison, but just to show the real estate trends in general. At this point, some other cities are seeing a decrease in their median home price, but we have not seen that yet. Here is an overview of the efforts of our office over the last year. We've adjusted property values for 18,000 properties for market changes. We sent out 4,900 reappraisal requests for inspections of properties, and we received we were able to actually get into 1,500 houses. This is about a 30% response rate, and that's the same as last year. And here is the value of our work. The overall value in the city of Fargo is just under $22 billion. And that's about a 5.5% increase. Again, this is market value, 5.5% increase over last year. This chart shows the values from the last slide, showing that there's about a 50-50 split between commercial and residential values. And for 2024, the taxable valuation is $843 million. This is split most of it goes to new growth for 4.2%, and just 1.25% of it was existing value increases for market value changes. Overall, a 5.4% increase in the taxable valuation. That makes 1 mil worth about $843,000. And this shows the historical change in the taxable valuation over the last 45 years. So the 5.4% increase in taxable valuation for this year is almost directly in keeping with the average annual increase over the years. This shows the taxable valuation history over the years, along with the Fargo mill levy. Again, $843 million is the taxable valuation for this year, and the Fargo mill levy is $57 mills, including the airport. This shows the taxable value by school district for 2023, so last year's, going off of the mill levy for last year. And this shows that about 69% of Fargo's taxable value is taxable by the school district 1, and 31% is taxable by school district 6, which then makes up about 45% of school district 6's taxable value. And this chart shows the breakdown of the current mill levy, with the majority of property taxes going to the school and the city taking about 19%, or about 1/5 of the tax bill. This slide shows the values of the discretionary exemptions. This means exemptions allowed by law at the discretion or partial control of the city. Overall, there was a slight decrease as exemptions expire and less new homes are built or bought. And this slide shows the non-discretionary exemptions. These exemptions are allowed by law and the city has no discretion over them. Overall, there's a slight increase with large increases in the affordable housing exemption. This is where the low-income housing projects may receive an exemption through the state housing agency. They have to apply annually in order to be eligible, and they have to comply with the parameters of the agency to receive the exemption. We also had a large increase in homestead credits due to a law change which greatly expanded the homestead parameters to include more people. Overall, this has more than doubled our reception of homestead applications. This shows the current state of our TIF program. 2 areas expired out of the TIF program this year, and 2 new ones were introduced. Overall, the increment tax total is up from last year, and this is due partially to a new large area coming into the TIF, and then just your normal new construction and market value increases. And the TIF incremental value is about 1.25 of the total taxable base, and this is up about 0.25% from last year. And then just a recap of the new homestead credit law. There's 100% credit for incomes up to $40,000, which applies to $200,000 of the true and full value. And then there's a 50% credit for the income levels between $40,000 and $70,000, which applies to $100,000 of true and full value. We are still processing applications at this time. We've gotten a lot, as you can see. So if anybody has any questions or still wants to apply, we can help them. You can just contact our office.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Mr. Kolpak?
Thank you. Michael, do you have any idea what the uptake for the Fargo area was for the $500 property tax credit?
That is run by the state, and I have not received any statistics on that at this time.
Thank you.
And then the disabled veterans credit is still in place, and this provides a reduction in taxable value for qualifying homeowners who have military service-related disabilities of 50% or more. And this gives a credit of up to $180,000 on the true and full value. The homestead credit for special assessments is run through the state, and people can apply with the county in order to get this. And it does create a lien on the property, which has to be paid off upon the transfer once they die or they sell it. So, City of Fargo Special Assessments Assistance Program is run through the planning department and is paid out of local funds. Provides a reduction in annual special assessments for qualifying homeowners. The original amount of specials balance must exceed $500. And in the last year, they have paid out over $56,000 in aid to applicants, helping about 164 households within the city of Fargo with low to moderate incomes. Information on the values and many of the property details held in our database can be found at fargoparcels.com. This information is updated daily throughout the year. This concludes the annual report. Are there any questions before we open the floor to appeals?
Mr. Chair, I
Good
I have a few
question.
questions. First of all, Mike, I want to thank you. This is fantastic, and the amount of information in here it's a little overwhelming at 7:30 in the morning, so thank you. My question is this available online?
This will be available online, yes. Yep.
So that's great. And then the other one on page 4 of our pamphlet, it shows the appraisal areas. You talked about that. So each year you're in a different section. And can I ask you, is the staff able to keep up and how is that progress going?
Well, it's a good question. At this point, we are able to keep up. It is a little bit of a stretch. We are able to hire a couple of interns each summer to help us make up for the difference and do some data collection for us. And the 5-year plan is actually a professional standard that's put out there. We've been holding to it for the last, I think, 5-6 years, just to make sure that we're trying to cover all of the information as accurately as possible. Yeah, I mean, it can be a little bit of a stretch. And the other thing is that the response rate is low. And so the accuracy of the work that we're doing is, at times it can be, it's a little bit of a problem.
So can I ask you, so for this year, what area of town is this year a designated year? Which of the numbers is this year?
Yeah, Area 1 is where we're going to be going here in 2024.
But the other thing is sometimes like you've redone downtown as a specific project, correct? 'Cause
in the past, yep, and we do that every year where we're looking at the sales and we're seeing that there's a problem with where our values are. We will take special projects outside of the reappraisal as well if it looks like there's a need.
And if I could make a request this is for a next meeting possibly. So it's very interesting to me that the appraised value were about 40% residential, 40% commercial. It would be interesting to know how is that compared to West Fargo and Moorhead and possibly some of the other peer cities, I guess. It would, and I apologize for making more homework for you, but to me, that would just be interesting for us. The other thing, so the new industry and pilots went down about 4%. So you talked about some of it, they expire, correct? They go off the rolls. And so would you say that's the major explanation for that we've, as time goes by, some mature and then they drop off?
Yeah, there are a number of them that went off this year, but as a percentage of last year, it's actually, that one is a little bit smaller. Every year with the pilots and new industry exemptions, there's only a couple each year that come off. I would say you're going to see that the larger change in that new residential construction one that's where the largest change is this year. And I'm guessing that has to do with the fact that there's not as many houses either going up or being sold along those lines.
Just one more, Mr. Chair, and that's page 19. It's just interesting to me. It just goes back 10 years and shows the largest value holders from 10 years ago. There's some names that are the same, but it's kind of interesting, the turnover. And obviously those are the big property parcels that people own, but it's not always the same 10 names. It's kind of a lot different. So that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the time.
Mr. Strand.
Mike, I'm curious about two things. A few years ago during the pandemic or post-pandemic, we had a reduction in hotel valuations. And now, to my knowledge, they're back up to speed. Are they back up where they should be?
I don't.
I can answer that
Yes.
question, Commissioner Strand. Following the pandemic, we had a total overhaul of our hotel valuations where we reappraised all hotels in the entire city from scratch. And we feel that we are in line with the current market.
So has it increased again?
Some went up and some went down after that point, after that reappraisal process. So I would say that overall the value did increase after that reappraisal process.
I'm curious about who decides that.
As in general, when we're looking at the market as it is, the information that we have in order to make these decisions, it's going to be up to whoever's running the reappraisal. Most of the information is run by me, especially when it comes to the decreases and all those things. Looking at the information available and making the best decision we can based off the information that is available. So it's, again, who makes the decision ultimately? That's my decision to make. The appraisers are going to come to me and present me with that information.
And my background in that, what I remember is when that hotel decrease came to us, it came to us. We didn't decide it. We were told that was probably what was happening or what was happening. I just hope we keep a real clear eye on that. The hotels weren't the only industry impacted by COVID, and they certainly were, but so were others. And my next question might connect, Mike, to that same theme. You indicated there's this year a 6% reduction in office space valuation. And I'm guessing that's post-COVID too, the impacts in the economy. But my specific question is, how about all the office spaces in mixed-use properties, mixed-use buildings?
At this point, we have to follow what the market is indicating to us. So going back a little bit and saying, okay, what is the impact of COVID? At that time, we went with the information we had, and then we did a reappraisal of the hotels. What a reappraisal looks like is that we look at all of the hotels throughout the city of Fargo. We do a total inventory. Now, with hotels and motels, there's only so many of them, so we're able to do a full inventory and do a reappraisal. And during reappraisal, we do a total look at the property on its own and try to say, okay, what's happening in the market with these types of properties? And that's why you would see where some of them go down and some of them go up, because basically we have more accurate information. We were able to talk with a lot of the management of these establishments and get really good information to basically make our appraisal more accurate for those purposes. Okay, then fast forward to right now with the offices and things that are happening with them. I can't say specifically why it looks like that our values were high, but we had enough sales where they were over and above the market. The assessments were over and above the market values, and so we dropped them to become a little more in compliance. 6% does not end up being very much overall on these types of properties, but we are just following the sales. We have to reflect them, and again follow the information as we have it, and hopefully it's as accurate as possible.
And bear with me, but that 6%, if somebody owns a mixed-use building, mixed-use MDU, do they get, and half of their building is office space, and the other half, are they getting that too, or is it just the entire 100% offices?
At this point, the mixed use is a different type of sale. We would say that does not sell in the same category as just your straight office use. And at this point, and we actually do have the mixed use classified as a different type of property. And as far as at this point, the mixed use sales did not indicate that we needed to make large adjustments. It was just the sales of office type properties.
And it might not be just sales, it might be vacancies.
Well, as far as vacancies go, if there's enough vacancy that is affecting the sales of the properties, then we can make an adjustment. But that's a management issue, and we can't necessarily just go out and willy-nilly make adjustments because people are having vacancy issues.
Thank you.
Now we're going to receive individual appeals from the floor. If you kindly come to the podium to my left, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd line up a little bit so we can keep this moving. Give your name, the property, and then just your concern about the property valuation. Our staff will do no judgment today, but we'll look into it. So whoever wants to start off, please stand up to the podium and make your appeal.
And if I can just make a little reminder, the way this is going to go, once we receive the appeals, we will, if we need to contact the property owners, we will go and do a review of their property and then do a market analysis. And then once we make a determination, we will contact the homeowners and talk with them about it. And then just as a reminder, after we receive all of the appeals online and here on the floor, we will have a couple of motions to move forward with the appeals process.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Twyla Novak. I'm here with my husband Dale Novak. We bought our home in Fargo a year and a half ago, July of 2022. We bought our home for $405,000. And the next year we got an assessment increase of $32,500. And as hot as the market was at that time, we thought, well, that's probably reasonable. But this year we received another increase of an additional $53,000. So our $405,000 home has been increased to $492,200, which is over a 20% increase. When we bought our home, the Zillow value was exactly $405,000. So the first thing I did when we got this is check the current Zillow value, which says it's $432,900. So that's really very much in line with that first assessment that we thought seemed fairly reasonable. So then we asked the city for the comparisons, and I think that there maybe just weren't good comparisons, quite honestly, because our house is 1,880 square feet, and it was compared with homes that were 2,301 square feet up to 2,553 square feet. Their square foot value on the other homes that we were compared to was $207 to $218 per square foot. Our home value is $262 per square foot. So that's a really big difference in my opinion. So then I reached out to the realtor who we had purchased our home from and asked him, since he was familiar with the property, what he thought that it would be worth. And he said an accurate list price for the property would be about $450 on the high end. It's been 18 months since he purchased it for $405, and he said, I can confidently say that the property would not sell for anything higher than $450 at this time. So then there was a house in our neighborhood that was for sale, and it was for sale for quite a long time by today's standards. It was like 6 weeks to 2 months, somewhere in there, and I'd actually gone to the open house. And it too was a much larger house than our house. And so I called that real estate agent and I said, I'm just trying to compare my house to this house. Do you have information for me? And she said, yes, I have a tool that we use all the time. And of course, I'm sorry, I didn't print that off. But anyway, it was sent to me by Kiera Oscarson from Hatch Realty. And you enter in your address, and it tells you what it thinks the current value is, which is $418,259. So then that house in my neighborhood did sell, and it too is much larger. It's 3,344 square feet compared to our 1,800, and it sold for $5,000 less than the asking price. And it sold for $480,000. And the other thing, and this might not be completely relative, but an acquaintance of ours in the Woodhaven area just listed their house for sale. It too is much larger than ours, It's 2,960 square feet, and it was listed for 455,000. And I think Woodhaven's a much nicer neighborhood than our neighborhood. And it's a home that's in immaculate condition. So I know we're supposed to be between 90 and 100% of the market value, and I just feel that ours exceeds 100% of the market value.
Good research. The team will look at that. Thank you.
All right, do you want a copy of the
You
documents?
can work with the team on that.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Next. And if somebody else wants to line up behind him, so we just keep moving along, please.
Morning. My name's Sam Jelleberg. I'm here on behalf of Sterling Management. We have, first would like to thank for the opportunity to speak today. Also thank the assessor's office. It's been great to work with over the few years I've been working on these protests. Also mention Fargo Parcels website is one of the easiest to navigate website. Going through, we are in about 10 markets as a real estate investment trust. It is by far the easiest one to navigate. So thank you very much for keeping that for us. We have provided quite a few of the properties under our real estate investment trust for appeal, but I just wanted to highlight a few today of some of the economic pieces that we're seeing from sales comps. So specific to some of the properties that we're seeing in 2023, as you know, this is the first year that we saw a increase in interest rates and increase in spreads from community banks, just with the issues they're having of deposit outflows. And we are interested to see what kind of sales comps we are going to see throughout the year in 2023. What we've seen is the same thing in Fargo as we've seen in Bismarck, Grand Forks, Minneapolis, Omaha, throughout the entire U.S. where we've been tracking, where we look at on the acquisitions team. And we found in the 70s and 60s products throughout Fargo, highlighting two sections. I apologize, but my point of reference is diners in Fargo. So we've got a location on similar close to Randy's Diner on University that we've seen 70s product most recently trade for $55,000 a door, of which we have a property assessed at closer to $60,000 a door that is 9 years older. Otherwise, a very similar product. In our North Fargo section, very close to the Shack, again, my other diner reference, close to the Shack, we've seen 3 sales occur of a 1960s product at $56,000 per door, 1976 product at $55,500 per door, and 1962 product at $41,400 per door. And what we have for properties in the area are currently assessed at anywhere from $63,000 to $65,000 a door. So just wanting to highlight that what we've seen with the in the multifamily market, we've seen cap rates expand, and with the expansion of cap rates leads to a compression of the values of real estate. And so we've identified of the 120 plus properties in the Fargo area that we serve as asset managers. We've identified, I think, somewhere around 10 to 15 or 20 that we've seen, we believe are currently assessed above what their market values are. We've provided other appraisal data and some supporting income documents as well, but just wanted to highlight some of the economic pieces that we're seeing in the market today.
Thank you for that explanation.
All right, thank you.
Next.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Charlie Adams. I'm at 6740 Ashwood Loop South in Fargo. And I don't mean to take up a lot of your time today. So I had been communicating with Michael Brown in the assessor's office, and I just wanted to thank him for his timely responses and information back. It's been very helpful in this process to date here. And so I just took, without going into specifics, I just thought that maybe the comparable properties used to value my home weren't quite apples to apples as compared to some others that were out there. I know that the folks in the assessor's office are experts in market value. I also believe that realtors in our community are experts in market value, so I consulted with a realtor, and I had additional properties, addresses forwarded to Mr. Brown in the assessor's office, just asking if we can maybe consider some of those as comparable properties also, and then just take a look at the valuation compared to those.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Good morning. My name's Barry Gruco. I'm a agent for Remax Legacy, and I represent the Prairie Farms development. And there's multiple properties that is raw land in that development that we think has been maybe overappraised based on the sales over the last 36 months, where it's definitely outside of that, number that we're looking for. Some of them to the tune of over 30% of what the sales have actually come in at. And part of that may be because of the large special assessments in the area. But if we could, maybe translate some of this information to your guys' team and yours to consider maybe taking a look at that and re-evaluating that would be awesome.
It always helps when you bring your data, so that's
Yeah.
fine. The team will work with you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, and the Assessor's Office. I'm Kent Yohe from 5052 Prosperity Way. And I'm going to leave this. I talked to Mr. Brown, and I brought some for all the other assessors. And I got some numbers here that the current sales on the association member properties from 2019 to 2023 do in fact show sales from 669 to 832. The two properties that sold in 2023 were reflected in last year's assessment increase per correspondence with your office. We estimate market value primarily with recent sales. So I'm not going to take any more time. I'm just going to leave this with Mr. Brown and then contact him and maybe have him come over to my property and reassess it, because two properties that sold, I don't have a luxury wine cellar and I don't have an outdoor fire pit and gated area. So I'll leave it with him.
Yeah, that's very good. Thanks, Ken.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much for this opportunity. I represent the HOA board at Aspen Timbers, and although all our places may look the same, they're not all the same inside because certain people have made a lot of advancements inside their home. And so therefore, it's kind of hard to base the taxes just by a general look. And I think the HOA would appreciate if people could come over and assess each one of the homes and see if there is a difference, and we'll go along with that. Thank you very much.
It's always better if we're allowed to get in the home, so that does help. Next. Anybody else wishing to appeal? Mike, you're on next.
Online, on the phone.
Yeah, anybody that's online.
Is anybody online right now?
Yes, this is Wayne Tannenbaum with Pivotal Tax. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Go ahead.
I actually would like to withdraw our appeal. It's for a hotel property, but we'd like to withdraw it.
Mike, you got that? Which property that is?
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See, John, somebody's happy about hotel assessment. So the list of unresolved appeals. That's our list here. We have of 200, Mike?
I think we have one more. Is there anybody else
Oh, I'm
online?
sorry. There's somebody else online?
Or two?
Yes, sir. Yeah, my name is Zachary Whitaker. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I was working with Liz Larson. I have a shopping center that I would like to appeal. It is a TJ Maxx anchor shopping center. However, something to note about it, Bed Bath & Beyond was also a anchor in the shopping center, and they have gone bankrupt, and they were vacant for this last year. The value pretty much rolled year over year. However, based on the actual financials of the gross revenue and the expenses incurred for this property, the value should be lower than what it's at. I understand that the assessor was looking at sales. However, it is important to know that with market value, if an investor were to come and purchase a property that is severely vacant, such as this property, the actual financials performance of this property is important for the valuation of market value. And I believe Liz has provided my packet of evidence for this property with you guys already. And I have another property. It is for a Chase Bank. It's a similar situation. I looked at both cost and income. I used the actual financials of the property to come to my income value, and it is below what the assessor is coming on for this year. So those two packets should have been provided from Liz to you guys to review, and I really do appreciate your time.
Mike, we do have those two packets?
Yes, we
Is that
do.
correct? Thank you, sir. We will look into it.
One more.
One more? Is there one more online? Is that it?
Is there anybody else online who wishes to appeal their value at this time?
I'm hearing nothing, so.
If you wish to appeal, you may need to turn your mic on.
Nobody there, Craig? Okay, we'll go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So you have in your packet a list of all the appeals that we've received up to this point. This motion is to move them and all of the appeals that we just received into a pending status so that we will have time to address them and bring them back after the recess with recommendations.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Colpack?
Aye.
Horn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 4, such a motion to approve all of the valuation of 2024 assessment roll.
So
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mike, you want to comment at all?
Nope, just, this is basically just saying every other value that's not been appealed at this point is approved for 2024. And basically what it does is it effectively cuts off the appeal at the city level for these.
Okay, roll call vote.
Strand?
Yes.
Colpack?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 5, recess Board of Equalization for appeals. Move to recess City of Fargo Board of Equalization till May 7th, 7:30 to complete the pending appeals. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, can I add a real quick comment? So Mike, on all the appeals, can you let us know at the next meeting if they allow you access to the, because it means a lot to me if they allow access. If they don't allow access, that changes my perspective. So if you don't mind, if it's not too much extra work, but just to say, if somebody appeals, they did not allow us to come into the property, okay?
Sure, I can do my best to track that. Yep.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Pepcorn's comment, we only have 30% time people will let us come in their property. So I agree, Commissioner Pepcorn, it's really valuable to go in the property and look at it. Just had other comments today, some houses have this or have that, or what do they have in the community? So we just ask anybody to appeal, please be generous in allowing people to come in.
Mayor.
Commissioner Strand?
Thank you. I'm curious also trends. This escalating market and the burden on the folks for keeping up with taxes. I would have expected more appeals. And I'm curious how this compares year to year to year. And I'd also be curious how it's going over in West Fargo, just to get a sense of how we lay the land, us versus them. But, there's so much, I would have expected more, frankly, with what's going on, and I'm curious to understand that better.
Sure. So just in general, I can tell you that as far as that goes, we get about 1 to 2% of the notice increases that we send out each year. This year, we're a little bit closer to 3%. So statistically speaking, we are a little bit higher this year than typical.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Commissioner Kolpak?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone who came today prepared and did their homework, and everyone online. Appreciate the feedback and the fact that you're here today.
Very good. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We appreciate it. Roll call vote, please.
Colpack?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. We are adjourned.